The old archive room smelled like dust and forgotten memories. Cale walked between the tall shelves that reached up to the ceiling. Each shelf held thousands of data crystals that glowed softly in the dim light. These crystals contained the history of the galaxy, stories from worlds that no longer existed, and records of species that had vanished long ago. Cale had worked in the Galactic Archive for 20 years. His job was simple but important. He kept the old records safe and helped people find information about the past. Most visitors wanted recent history or technical data. Very few people cared about the really old stuff. Today was different. Cale was looking for something specific. Yesterday, a junior archivist named Vera had found a strange reference in a trade document. The document mentioned something called humans and described them as fierce warriors who came from a blue world. Vera had asked Cale to help her find more information. Cale pulled a crystal from the shelf. It was older than most, its surface covered with tiny scratches from age. He placed it into the reader and waited for the holographic display to appear. Words in an ancient language filled the air in front of him. His translation software worked slowly on the old text. The first document was a shipping manifest from 40,000 years ago. It listed cargo from various worlds, but one line caught his attention. Trade goods from the human settlement on Kepler 442b. There was that word again. Humans. Cale made a note and pulled another crystal. This one was even older. The text was harder to read, but it mentioned humans again. This time they were described as the children of the blue world who walked among the stars before the great silence fell. He found more references as the day went on. A military report mentioned human mercenaries who fought with strange weapons. A scientific journal described human biology as unusual but not impossible. A religious text spoke of humans as the ones who would return when the galaxy needed them most. All the documents were very old. None of them were recent. It was as if humans had simply vanished from history at some point in the distant past. Cale found this very strange. Species did not usually disappear completely from all records. He decided to search the main database for any mention of humans. The computer thought for a long time before giving him an answer. No current records found. Historical references, 47 documents. Classification, mythological. The computer thought humans were just stories like dragons or magic spells. But the old documents seemed so real, so detailed. They described human ships, human weapons, human cities. These did not sound like fairy tales. Cale spent the rest of the day reading through the historical references. Most were fragments, just small mentions in larger documents. But slowly a picture began to form in his mind. Humans were described as bipedal creatures like many galactic species. They came from a world covered mostly with water, which they called Earth or Terra. They were excellent fighters and builders. They had a strange ability to adapt to almost any environment. Most importantly, they seemed to appear and disappear from galactic history like ghosts. The oldest document spoke of humans as if they were common knowledge. Trade agreements, military alliances, scientific exchanges. Then, around 50,000 years ago, the references became fewer. By 40,000 years ago, they were rare. After 30,000 years ago, there were none at all. What had happened to them? Had they died out? Had they left the galaxy? Or had they simply chosen to hide? Cale found one document that made him stop and think. It was a message from a human ambassador to the ancient Vorthon Empire. The message was short but clear. We thank you for your friendship, but we must withdraw from galactic affairs. The time is not right for our peoples to mix. Perhaps in the future, when wisdom has grown and peace is valued more than conquest, we will meet again. That message was dated 48,000 years ago. It suggested that humans had chosen to leave, not been forced out. But why? And where had they gone? As the archive's lights dimmed for the night cycle, Cale gathered his notes. He had found enough evidence to convince him that humans were real, not mythological. They had been part of galactic civilization for thousands of years before disappearing. But the question remained, were they still out there somewhere? Cale looked at his reflection in the dark window of the archive room. Behind him, thousands of crystals glowed softly on their shelves, holding the secrets of the past. Somewhere in those records might be the answer to where the humans had gone. Tomorrow, he would continue his search. He would dig deeper into the old documents and see what other clues he could find. Maybe he would discover why humans had left. Maybe he would find hints about where they had gone. Or maybe he would learn that some mysteries were meant to stay unsolved. But tonight, as he walked home through the busy corridors of Nexus Prime, Cale could not stop thinking about the humans. In his mind, he pictured them as they were described in the old texts. Brave explorers sailing between the stars, wise diplomats solving conflicts without war, clever scientists making discoveries that helped everyone. The galaxy had clearly been different when humans were part of it. The old records spoke of a time when cooperation was more common than conflict, when trade flourished and new worlds were settled peacefully, when different species worked together instead of fighting each other. Had the humans taken that spirit of cooperation with them when they left? Had their departure somehow made the galaxy a more dangerous place? Cale did not know the answers to these questions, but he was determined to find out. Somewhere in the archives was the truth about the humans. He would find it no matter how long it took. As he reached his quarters, Kyle looked out at the stars. Millions of worlds lay out there in the darkness. On one of them, maybe humans still lived. Maybe they were watching the galaxy from far away, waiting for the right time to return. Or maybe they were just stories after all, tales told by ancient peoples to make sense of a confusing universe. But deep in his heart, Kyle believed the humans were real. And somehow he felt that their story was not over yet. Captain Una stared at the sensor display with growing confusion. The numbers made no sense. Her ship, the Star's Edge, was one of the most advanced exploration vessels in the galactic fleet. Its sensors could detect a single ship from 3 star systems away, but what she was seeing now seemed impossible. "Run the scan again," she told her sensor officer, Lieutenant Chris. Chris's 6 arms moved quickly over the control panel. The Hexari were excellent at this kind of work because they could operate multiple systems at once. "Same results, Captain. The energy signature is definitely there, but it doesn't match anything in our database." Una moved closer to the display. The Star's Edge was currently exploring the outer rim of the galaxy, far from the busy trade routes and populated worlds. Out here, space was supposed to be empty except for the occasional asteroid or dead planet. But the sensors were showing something different. "What kind of energy signature is it?" Una asked. "That's the strange part," Chris replied. "It's not from engines, weapons, or communications. It's something completely new. The computer can't even classify it." Una had been exploring the galaxy for 15 years. She had seen strange things before. Ancient ruins, unusual stellar phenomena, even the occasional space creature. But she had never encountered technology that her ship's computers could not identify. "How far away is the source?" 2 light hours. "It's coming from the direction of that empty system we mapped last week." Una remembered the system. 3 dead planets orbiting a dying star. No life, no resources, no reason for anyone to be there. Her crew had spent 2 days scanning it thoroughly before moving on. "Could we have missed something during our survey?" "Unlikely," said her science officer, Dr. Tam. The elderly Vorthan looked up from his own instruments. "We scanned every planet, every moon, every large asteroid. The system was completely lifeless. Then what are we detecting now?" Dr. Tam adjusted his readings. "The energy signature is moving. Whatever is producing it is definitely artificial and under intelligent control." Una felt a chill run down her spine. In 15 years of exploration, she had learned to trust her instincts. Right now, those instincts were telling her that something very unusual was happening. "Could it be pirates?" she asked. Pirates sometimes used hidden bases in empty systems to avoid patrol ships. "No," Chris said firmly. "Pirate ships use standard engines and weapons. This is completely different. The energy output is huge, much larger than any ship in our records. Larger than a battleship? Larger than a whole fleet of battleships." Una sat down in her captain's chair and thought. The Star's Edge was an exploration ship, not a warship. If they were dealing with some kind of massive vessel, her small crew would be helpless against it. But her job was to explore and report on unusual discoveries. This definitely qualified as unusual. "Change course," she ordered. "Take us toward the energy source, but slowly. Keep our distance and be ready to jump to hyperspace if needed." The Star's Edge turned and began moving toward the mysterious signal. As they got closer, the readings became even more confusing. The energy signature was not just large, it was incredibly advanced. The patterns were unlike anything in the galactic database. "Captain," Dr. Tam said quietly, "I'm detecting multiple signatures now, at least 6 separate sources, possibly more. 6 ships. If they are ships, they're enormous. Each one is generating more energy than our entire home fleet." Yuna felt her heart rate increase. Who could build ships that large? No species in the galaxy had that kind of technology. The biggest warships were built by the Krex Empire, and even those were tiny compared to what they were detecting. Any signs that they've noticed us? No change in their behavior. They seem to be holding position around the third planet. Yuna activated the ship's recording systems. Whatever was out there, she needed to document it properly. The Galactic Council would want detailed sensor logs. As they moved closer, more details became clear. The energy signatures were definitely from artificial constructs. They were using some kind of propulsion system that produced no exhaust and generated no heat signature. By all known laws of physics, that should have been impossible. "Captain," Chris said, his voice tense. "They're moving." The sensor display showed the unknown contacts changing position. They moved with incredible speed and precision, like nothing Yuna had ever seen. One moment they were in orbit around the planet. The next they were arranged in a perfect formation in open space. Did they detect us? I don't think so. They're not moving toward us. It looks like they're conducting some kind of operation. Dr. Tam looked up from his instruments with wide eyes. "Captain, I'm detecting energy beams between the ships. They appear to be communicating." "With energy beams?" "The beams are modulated with complex patterns. It's definitely some form of information transfer, but the technology is far beyond anything we know." Yuna watched the display as the unknown ships continued their mysterious operations. The energy patterns were beautiful in their complexity, like watching a dance of pure physics. But they were also terrifying, because they proved that someone in the galaxy had technology that made everything else look primitive. Are they scanning us? I can't tell. If they are, they're using methods our sensors can't detect. The Star's Edge held its position, watching and recording. The unknown ships continued their activities for another hour before something changed. The energy signatures suddenly became much stronger. "They're powering up," Chris reported. "Energy levels are increasing rapidly." "Weapons?" "No, it's their propulsion systems. I think they're preparing to leave." Yuna watched as the mysterious ships began to move. One by one, they accelerated away from the planet. But they did not use any kind of hyperspace jump that she recognized. Instead, they simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next they were gone, leaving only empty space. Where did they go? Unknown. They didn't enter hyperspace, at least not the way we understand it. They just disappeared. Dr. Tam was studying his readings carefully. "Captain, based on the energy signatures and movement patterns, I believe we witnessed something very significant. Those ships use technology that is centuries, possibly millennia ahead of current galactic science. Who could build ships like that? I don't know. But whoever they are, they don't want to be seen. The fact that they left when they did suggests they knew we were watching." Yuna stared at the empty space where the ships had been. Her mind was full of questions. Who were these mysterious people? Where had they come from? And why were they hiding in the empty regions of space? "Continue recording everything," she ordered. "Full sensor sweeps of the area. I want to know if they left anything behind." The crew spent the next 6 hours scanning the system thoroughly. They found no physical evidence of the mysterious ships, but the sensor logs were full of readings that would keep scientists busy for years. As the Star's Edge finally turned to leave the system, Yuna could not shake the feeling that she had witnessed something historic. Somewhere in the galaxy there was a civilization with technology that surpassed anything the Galactic Council had ever imagined. The question was, were they friends or enemies? And would the galaxy see them again? Admiral Jorik studied the star chart with growing unease. The red zone marked on the map stretched across 12 star systems on the galaxy's outer rim. For as long as anyone could remember, this region had been forbidden to all galactic traffic. Ships that entered the silent expanse simply disappeared. "How many vessels have we lost?" he asked his aide, Commander Neela. 47 confirmed disappearances over the past 500 years, Neela replied, reading from her data pad. "All different types of ships. Explorers, merchants, even military vessels. None ever sent a distress signal. They just vanished." Jorik had been appointed to the Galactic Defense Force's Border Patrol Division 6 months ago. His job was to keep ships away from dangerous areas and investigate any unusual activity near the galactic rim. The silent expanse was his biggest concern. What about sensor probes? Have we tried sending unmanned scouts? Dozens of them. Same result. As soon as they cross the boundary, we lose all contact. No data is ever transmitted back. The silent expanse had been discovered 300 years ago when the galaxy was rapidly expanding outward. Early explorers had marked it on their charts as an area to avoid. Over time, stories had grown about what might be hiding there. Some said it was a massive black hole that could not be detected. Others believed it was home to hostile aliens who destroyed all visitors. The truth was that nobody knew what was in the silent expanse, but everyone agreed it was too dangerous to investigate. "Sir," said Lieutenant Breck, looking up from his communication station, "we're receiving a transmission from Captain Yuna aboard the Star's Edge." Jorik knew Captain Yuna well. She was one of the best exploration captains in the fleet, brave but not reckless. If she was calling, it was important. "Put her through." Captain Yuna's image appeared on the main screen. She looked tired and worried. "Admiral, I need to report something unusual. We've detected unknown energy signatures near the edge of the silent expanse." Jorik felt his stomach tighten. "How close to the boundary?" "About half a light year." The signatures were massive, unlike anything in our database. Multiple contacts, possibly ships using advanced technology. "Did you investigate?" "We observed from a safe distance." The contacts disappeared after about an hour. No hyperspace signature, they just vanished. Jorik exchanged glances with Commander Neela. More strange reports from the silent expanse. This was becoming a pattern. "Captain, I want you to file a complete report immediately. Include all sensor data and recordings." "Already prepared, sir." "But Admiral, there's something else." The energy signatures were moving in organized patterns. Whatever was out there was definitely under intelligent control. After ending the transmission, Jorik called up the restricted files on the silent expanse. The official records were brief, but they told a disturbing story. The first ship to disappear had been a geological survey vessel called the Deep Finder. It had been exploring mineral deposits near the rim when it simply vanished from all sensors. Within a year, 3 more ships had disappeared in the same region. The Galactic Council had quickly declared the area off-limits and established patrol routes to keep other vessels away. But ships continued to vanish. Sometimes they were explorers who ignored the warnings. Sometimes they were pirates trying to hide from authorities. All of them disappeared without a trace. The most disturbing case had happened 50 years ago. A military patrol of 5 warships had been investigating reports of strange lights near the silent expanse. All 5 ships had disappeared simultaneously, taking over 2,000 crew members with them. "Commander," Jorik said to Neela, "pull up the ancient star charts. I want to see what this region looked like before it became forbidden." The old charts appeared on the display. Jorik studied them carefully. In the earliest maps, the region showed normal star systems with planets and asteroid fields. Some systems even had survey markers indicating successful exploration. But around 3,000 years ago, the charts began to change. Survey markers disappeared. Trade routes were redirected. Warning symbols appeared. By 2,000 years ago, the entire region was marked as Navigation Hazard Avoid. What happened 3,000 years ago? Jorik wondered aloud. "According to the historical records," Neela said, checking her files, "that was around the time of the Great Silence." Jorik nodded. The Great Silence was a well-known historical period when several advanced civilizations had simply vanished from the galaxy. Entire species had disappeared, leaving behind empty worlds and abandoned technology. Historians still debated what had caused it. "Do you think there's a connection?" "It's possible. Maybe whatever caused the Great Silence is still out there, hiding in the silent expanse." The thought made Jorik uncomfortable. If something in that region was powerful enough to make entire civilizations disappear, then the galaxy might be in serious danger. His communication system beeped. Another message was coming in, this time from the border patrol ship Vigilant. "Admiral, this is Captain Roth. We've detected a ship heading toward the silent expanse boundary. It's ignoring our warnings to change course. What type of ship?" "Appears to be a civilian transport. Small crew, probably smugglers trying to avoid the main shipping lanes." Jorik sighed. This happened several times a year. Criminal ships would try to use the silent expanse as a shortcut or hiding place, thinking the danger warnings were just government propaganda. Deploy to intercept. Use whatever force necessary to turn them around. But even as he gave the order, Jorik knew it might be too late. The smuggler ship was probably already crossing the boundary. In a few hours it would join the long list of vessels that had vanished in the silent expanse. He looked at the star chart again, focusing on the red zone that marked the forbidden region. Somewhere in that darkness, 47 ships and their crews had met an unknown fate, and now Captain Yuna had detected signs of advanced technology near the boundary. Was something in the silent expanse finally becoming active again? Were the disappeared ships still there, captured by whatever force controlled the region, or had they been destroyed by weapons beyond galactic understanding? "Sir?" Lieutenant Breck called out. "Captain Roth reports that the smuggler ship has crossed the boundary." Any response from the vessel? Negative. All communications have ceased. Another ship lost. Another crew vanished without explanation. Jorik added their information to the official report, knowing it would be filed away with all the others. "Commander Neela, I want you to prepare a detailed briefing for the Galactic Council. Include Captain Yuna's report and all recent activity near the Silent Expanse." "Do you think they'll authorize an investigation?" Jorik doubted it. The Council was too afraid of losing more ships and crews. They preferred to maintain the boundary and hope that whatever was in the Silent Expanse would stay there. But what if it decided not to stay? What if the advanced technology Captain Yuna had detected was preparing to expand beyond the Forbidden Zone? As Jorik looked out at the stars, he could not shake the feeling that the galaxy was about to change. For 3,000 years, the Silent Expanse had been a mystery wrapped in danger. Now, something was stirring in that darkness. The question was whether the galaxy would be ready when it finally revealed itself. Deep in the restricted files, one document caught his attention. It was a fragment of an ancient text, found in the ruins of a vanished civilization. The translation was uncertain, but one line stood out. "They who retreat to the rim shall return when the stars align, bringing judgment to those who have forgotten wisdom." Jorik stared at those words for a long time, wondering if they were prophecy or warning. Dr. Rena wiped the sweat from her forehead as she carefully brushed dirt away from the ancient bones. The dig site on Kepler 442b was hot and dusty, but what she had found here was worth any discomfort. These remains were unlike anything in the galactic database. The skeleton was clearly bipedal, standing about 2 meters tall when complete. The bone structure was similar to several known galactic species, but there were important differences. The skull was larger, suggesting a bigger brain. The hands had only 5 fingers instead of the 6 or 8 that most intelligent species possessed. Most interesting of all, the bones showed signs of genetic adaptation to various environments. "Professor Mech," she called to her assistant, "come look at this." Professor Mech was a young Altane scientist who had joined her expedition to gain experience in xenoarchaeology. His 4 eyes could see details that Rena's 2 eyes might miss. "What have you found, Dr. Rena?" "Look at the bone density in the legs. These creatures were built for high-gravity worlds. But see these respiratory adaptations? They could also survive in low-oxygen environments, and these muscle attachment points suggest they were incredibly strong." Mech studied the remains carefully. This individual could survive in conditions that would kill most galactic species. "How is that possible?" "I don't know. But it gets stranger." Rena led him to another excavation site 20 meters away. "Look at this skeleton." The second set of remains was clearly from the same species, but the adaptations were completely different. These bones showed modifications for low gravity and high radiation environments. The creature would have been taller and thinner than the first one. "2 different subspecies?" Mech asked. "That's what I thought at first, but the dating shows they lived at the same time in the same settlement. Somehow this species could adapt their physical characteristics to match different environments within a single generation." Rena had been studying alien biology for 20 years. She had never seen anything like this level of adaptability. Most species evolved slowly over millions of years to match their homeworld's conditions. These creatures seemed able to change themselves as needed. "Dr. Rena, you should see what the team found at Dig Site 3. They walked across the ancient settlement to where her other assistants were working. The site had once been a city, though not a large one. The buildings were simple but well-designed, built to last. What made them special was their construction. They were built to accommodate beings of different sizes and physical requirements. "Look at this doorway," said Dr. Kesh, her senior assistant. The Vorthon archaeologist pointed to an entrance that could be adjusted from 1 meter to 3 meters in height. "The mechanism is still functional after all this time." Rena examined the adaptive architecture. The builders had designed their city to accommodate physical diversity within their own species. She had never seen anything like it. What about the technology level? That's the confusing part, Dr. Kesh replied. Most of their tools are very simple. Stone knives, metal farming implements, basic construction equipment. But we've also found devices that are far more advanced. He led her to a table where several artifacts were displayed. Most looked primitive, the kind of tools used by early civilizations. But mixed among them were objects that seemed impossibly sophisticated. This appears to be some kind of energy weapon, Dr. Kesh said, pointing to a sleek metallic device. But it has no power source and is made from materials that don't appear in our periodic table. And this, said Dr. Lim, another team member, seems to be a communication device. It's incredibly advanced but designed to look simple. Rena picked up the communication device. It felt warm in her hands and seemed to respond to her touch, though it remained inactive. The craftsmanship was perfect, as if it had been made by machines rather than organic hands. How old are these artifacts? Everything we've found dates to approximately 50,000 years ago, Dr. Kesh replied. But here's the strange part. The settlement was abandoned suddenly. No signs of war, disease, or natural disaster. The people just left. Rena looked around the dig site. The evidence suggested a thriving community that had simply packed up and moved away. Personal items were missing, but infrastructure remained intact. Any clues about where they went? We found this near the center of the settlement. Dr. Lim held up a stone tablet covered with symbols. It's in a language we've never seen before, but our translation computer managed a partial decode. The symbols were beautiful and complex, clearly created by an intelligent mind. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear enough. The time of hiding begins. We go to the silent places until wisdom grows among the children of distant suns. When peace is valued more than conquest, we will return to help heal what has been broken. Rena read the message several times. It sounded like these people had voluntarily gone into exile, waiting for the galaxy to become more peaceful. Have you found any indication of what they called themselves? Yes, Dr. Kesh said, pulling up his linguistic analysis. The word appears many times in various contexts. Our best translation is human. Rena felt a chill. She had heard that word before in old myths and legends. Ancient stories spoke of mysterious beings called humans who had once walked among the stars. Most scholars dismiss these as folklore, but the evidence here suggested otherwise. These humans, she said slowly, what happened to them? Based on the evidence, they packed up their settlement and left the planet. But they didn't just abandon their technology. Many of the advanced devices show signs of deliberate deactivation, as if they didn't want them to be found by others. Rena studied the artifacts again. The humans had clearly possessed technology far beyond what the galaxy knew today, but instead of using it to conquer other species, they had chosen to hide it away. Dr. Rena, Professor Mech called from across the site. We found something else. He was standing near what appeared to be a memorial or monument. The structure was simple but elegant, made from the same unknown materials as the advanced artifacts. It's some kind of time capsule, Mech explained. The seals are still intact. Inside the capsule, they found more tablets and several storage devices that hummed with residual energy. Most interesting was a star chart showing the location of the settlement and various marked routes leading away from it. These routes, Dr. Rena said, studying the chart, they all lead toward the galactic rim. Toward the silent expanse, Dr. Kesh added quietly. The team stood in silence, absorbing the implications. The humans had not simply vanished from history. They had deliberately withdrawn to the most dangerous and unexplored region of the galaxy. Why would they go there? Professor Mech asked. Because no one would follow them, Rena replied. The silent expanse is the perfect place to hide if you want to avoid contact with other species. As the day ended and the team prepared to return to their ship, Rena looked out at the barren landscape of Kepler 442b. 50,000 years ago, this world had been home to beings with incredible technology and adaptive abilities. Now it was empty, lifeless, forgotten. But the humans might still be out there, somewhere in the darkness beyond the galactic rim. The question was whether they were still waiting for the galaxy to become wise enough for their return, or whether they had been preparing for something else entirely. That night, as Rena reviewed her notes, she could not escape the feeling that their archaeological discovery was more than just historical curiosity. The galaxy might be about to learn that some legends were actually memories, and some memories had very long lifespans. High Priestess Sola knelt before the ancient altar as the twin moons of Vorth cast silver light through the temple windows. The sacred texts lay open before her, their pages yellow with age. Tonight she would perform the ritual of seeking, hoping to understand the visions that had been troubling her sleep. For weeks, the same images had filled her dreams. Vast blue oceans under alien skies, beings with smooth skin and five-fingered hands walking among the stars, ships of impossible beauty sailing between worlds bringing peace wherever they traveled. The visions were so clear, so real, that they felt like memories rather than dreams. But they showed things that had never existed in the known galaxy, or so she had always believed. Sola opened the Book of Beginnings, the most sacred text of the Vorthon faith. The ancient words were written in Old Vorton, a language that few could still read. As the High Priestess, she had spent decades studying these texts, but tonight she was looking for something specific. In the time before the Great Silence, she read aloud. When the galaxy was young and wisdom flowed like rivers between the stars, there came the children of Terra to dwell among the people of distant suns, the children of Terra. This phrase appeared many times in the old texts, but most religious scholars interpreted it symbolically. They believed it referred to spiritual beings, not actual creatures from another world, but Sola's visions suggested otherwise. The children of Terra were different from all other beings. The text continued. They could adapt their forms to any world, survive in any environment, learn any skill. They brought with them knowledge of great power, but used it only to help and heal. Sola turned the page carefully. The next section described the abilities of these mysterious beings in detail. They were said to be master builders who could construct cities that would last forever. They were skilled fighters who preferred peace to war. Most remarkably, they possessed technology that seemed like magic to other species. But the children of Terra saw that the galaxy was not ready for their gifts, she read. War and hatred filled the spaces between stars. The wise ones counseled patience, saying that knowledge shared too soon would become a weapon rather than a blessing. The text described how the children of Terra had gradually withdrawn from galactic civilization. They removed their settlements, deactivated their technology, and sailed away to the silent places beyond the rim of known space. They shall dwell in the darkness between the lights, the prophecy continued, watching and waiting. When the galaxy cries out for salvation, when the weak suffer under the strong, when hope seems lost, then shall the children of Terra return. Sola had read these words hundreds of times before, but tonight they felt different. The visions in her dreams matched the descriptions in the ancient text perfectly. The blue-skinned beings, the advanced ships, the sense of vast wisdom held in check by compassion. She turned to the Book of Signs, looking for the passages that described how the return would be recognized. First shall come the whispers in the void, as their watchers stir in the deep places. Then shall their power be glimpsed by those who sail the far reaches. The ancient warnings shall be forgotten, and ships shall vanish in the silent expanse where the children of Terra make their home. Sola's hands trembled as she read. Recent reports from the galactic rim described exactly these signs. Ships disappearing near the silent expanse, strange energy signatures detected by exploration vessels, growing unrest throughout the galaxy as various species competed for resources and territory. When the signs are complete, the text continued, the children of Terra shall emerge from their exile. They will come not as conquerors but as healers, not as masters but as servants of justice. Their return shall herald a new age of wisdom and peace. But the prophecy also contained warnings. Not all shall welcome the return of the children of Terra. Those who profit from conflict will oppose them. Those who rule through fear will resist their message. Great struggles shall shake the foundations of the galaxy before the new age can begin. Sola closed the sacred books and began her meditation. As a spiritual leader, she was supposed to guide her people through interpretation of the ancient texts. But how could she tell them that the myths they had believed for thousands of years might actually be historical fact? The Vorthon people were peaceful by nature, but they were also practical. They would need evidence, not just visions and ancient prophecies. As she meditated, more images filled her mind. She saw vast fleets of ships unlike anything in the current galaxy. Their hulls gleamed like polished metal, and they moved with perfect precision. Inside them were the children of Terra, no longer hiding, preparing to return to the galaxy that had forgotten them. But she also saw darkness. Species across the galaxy were becoming more aggressive, more suspicious of each other. Wars were breaking out over trivial disputes. The weak were being crushed by the strong, just as the prophecy had warned. The galaxy was sick and it was getting worse. Sola opened her eyes and looked up at the statue that dominated her temple. It showed Vorth, the ancient teacher who had first brought the sacred text to their people. According to legend, Vorth had received the text from mysterious strangers who came from beyond the stars. For the first time, she wondered if those strangers had been the children of Terra themselves. The next morning, Sola called together the council of priests and priestesses who helped her lead the Vorthan faith. They gathered in the sacred chamber beneath the temple where the oldest artifacts were kept. "I have received visions," she announced. "The time of the Great Return approaches." The council members looked at each other uncertainly. Visions were part of their religious tradition, but claims about the Great Return were taken very seriously. "What have you seen, High Priestess?" asked Elder Roth, the oldest member of the council. Sola described her dreams in detail, connecting them to the ancient prophecies. She showed them the passages in the sacred texts that seemed to match current galactic events. "With respect, High Priestess," said Priestess Nara, "these visions might be symbolic rather than literal. The sacred texts often speak in metaphors." "I understand your skepticism," Sola replied, "but consider the recent reports from the Galactic Rim, ships vanishing in the silent expanse, unknown energy signatures, strange technology beyond our understanding. These match the signs described in our prophecies." Elder Roth studied the text carefully. "Even if your interpretation is correct, what should we do? How do we prepare our people for the return of beings who have been gone for 50,000 years? "We must spread the word," Sola said firmly. "Other species may have forgotten the children of Terra, but we have preserved their memory. When they return, we must be ready to welcome them." But even as she spoke, Sola wondered what that return would really mean. The children of Terra were described as wise and peaceful, but they also possessed power that could reshape the galaxy. Not everyone would welcome such a dramatic change. As the council meeting ended, Sola returned to her private chambers and opened a secure communication channel to Vorthon communities throughout the galaxy. If her visions were true, if the prophecies were about to be fulfilled, then her people needed to know. "Children of Vorth," she began her message, "the signs are appearing. The Watchers stir in the deep places. The children of Terra remember their promise to return. Prepare your hearts and minds, for the galaxy is about to change forever." After sending the message, Sola stood at her window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of known space, the children of Terra were making their own preparations. The question was whether the galaxy would be ready for their return, or whether it would tear itself apart before they arrived. In her heart, Sola felt both hope and fear. The prophecies spoke of a new age of peace and wisdom, but they also warned of great struggles ahead. The children of Terra had hidden themselves away because the galaxy was not ready for their gifts. Now they were preparing to return, which meant they believed the time was right. Sola prayed they were correct, because if they were wrong, their return might destroy the very galaxy they hoped to save.